You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 130 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. Happy New Year! If you're listening to this in real time, it is January 1st, 2020, and we have entered into a new year, a new decade, and another opportunity to live out our purpose and also to be on that healing journey, whether we are looking for hope and restoration and peace and clarity. This is your year to do so. So I'm excited to be into 2020 and starting and kicking off this New Year's episode with the solo episode. It is my episode and my wish throughout this episode to really share just a recap of the year of what was accomplished, what was losses, and around the Sisters in Loss brand, and then really what my goals are for 2020. And I really would love to share with you all my word of the year and what I am going into 2020 focused on. How was your Christmas holiday? I pray that it was peaceful. If nothing else, you deserve to spend that time with family and friends. And then also for those of us who just want to take a break from family, you have that right too. And I hope that you made time to do so, taking that time away from your family and friends during the Christmas holiday, and just being at peace and finding some type of joy. To be transparent, my Christmas holiday was not great at all. I will be honest and say that Christmas morning, I woke up in tears just because of the weight of the holiday season in general is pretty depressing for me. I definitely suffer for some type of depressive the normal seasonal depressional type of concern where I just feel down. I wouldn't say that I'm like in a depression, but I have like depressive moments and thoughts, and it's very difficult for me during the holidays. But this holiday in particular, something struck me differently as of some challenges that I'm going through personally, and I just was feeling down all day. I really didn't get out the bed most of the day. My parents had to actually get me up and out of the bed. I did wake up early that morning and got my son together and made sure that he enjoyed Christmas as best as he could, and we both went back to sleep. We were back in the bed at 9. So but we did get out. We got out and enjoyed Christmas with family and friends, and did untraditional Christmas, eating out and then kind of hanging out at my parents' home before we came home. So I started out the day pretty sad, but I ended up the day with some joy, and I'm grateful for my family to just make things seem normal, even though it may not be normal, and to just make it memorable for my son. At the end of the day, having children during the holidays, whether we have them or we don't have them, being able to honor them and celebrate them, especially my child with a disability, is a blessing, and I don't take that for granted at all. So I'm happy that I was able to get out and enjoy the Christmas holiday season. So I am excited to talk about just what went well this year for Sisters in Loss. Sisters in Loss 2019 in general has just flown by, and I know you all think about that when you as we have wound down the year and now we're into 2020, like how fast the year actually flies by, and when you set out to accomplish something for the year, how that ends up happening for some things and how it doesn't end up happening for others. And so for 2018 going into 2019, I bet on myself, and I said I was going to write a book. The book, it has been written, but the book has been sitting. Like, I have not done nothing with this book, and the goal was to actually launch the book in 2019, but that did not happen, as obviously, otherwise you all would be the first ones to know. So I am going to launch it in 2020. I made it a goal for next year is to launch that book. So that was not a win. That was definitely a loss for me, or just a pause, in what I want to accomplish as my personal goals. But some other wins were the Sisters-in-Laws brunch in April of 2019 in Washington, D.C. at Busboys and Poets. For those of ladies who were in attendance, we sold out. We had over 65 people plus, because a lot of people showed up at the door in attendance to that brunch. It was intimate. It was probably a smaller space for the number of people that showed up, but I am so grateful for the community that came, my DMV sisters who came, but then also the women who came far and wide, traveled from Florida, from Ohio, from all over the U.S. to come to that brunch, to be a part of the community and really get poured into, and then pour into me, and just be grateful for the connection that we do have. As a another thing that happened was that we were officially trademarked as a brand. So many people may not know that. Yes, you may buy the website, you may buy, you may be using the brand, but until you officially trademark your brand name, it is not yours. So Sisters-in-Laws, I have been using the brand name for over 2 years. I ended up changing the podcast name to Sisters-in-Laws and pretty much everything else around that. And it has, I really wanted to make sure that I truly own that name, and that if someone was using the name, that I could, take out legal action on them, as people were starting to use Sisters-in-Laws in some form, shape, and I wanted to make sure that I had the legal documentation behind it. So we were officially trademarked in October of 2019, which is a blessing. The trademark process is not cheap. It does cost money, so I would say that you should make sure that you consult a trademark attorney. I can give you the name of my attorney that I use, Takora Davis. She is on Instagram. You can find her and look her up. She is an excellent trademark attorney, and she's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and she kept me in the loop the entire it takes about a year to trademark, so I started this process at the end of last year, and we were trademarking probably about 9 or 10 months for the Sisters-in-Laws brand. So Sisters-in-Laws is officially mine. I own the copyright. I own the R, circle R for that name, and it's ours. It's ours to use any way we see fit. And if we know that there are other people that are using it, we can definitely use our press legal action on our official trademark. Another win for Sisters-in-Laws was being able to participate in the Refinery 29 documentary on Black infant and maternal mortality. This was a win for Sisters-in-Laws because they found us, Refinery 29 producers found us, asked me if there were any other women in the DMV that would be willing to share their story online, and I reached out to the community, and you all responded, and many of you all participated, and that is now posted on their YouTube page. It's about a 16-minute documentary where they looked at folks in the DMV as well as in Atlanta, and they shared really about what does Black maternal health look like from our perspective, and what we, as women who've experienced loss, have actually gone through, and what healing looks like as a collective. So I'm happy that they were able to feature a lot of the sisters from the community. The next win for the Sisters-in-Laws is our podcast. podcast sponsorship. This year was a big year for podcast sponsorship. I was able to make a cute little coin this year on getting sponsors for the podcast. One thing that I'm going to do differently in 2020 is open it up for everyone. Anybody who wants to advertise on my podcast, I'm going to make it easy for you to do so, that you can come and definitely pay a discounted rate if you are a nonprofit to advertise your upcoming events on my podcast, and it will be evergreen on the podcast. So once it's in the podcast, it is there forever. So I want to make sure that you all know that before you start to reach out. But I definitely will be talking more about podcast sponsorship and definitely getting in on the mid-roll or pre-roll of the Sisters-in-Laws podcast in the next couple weeks of the new year. But we were able to have great partnerships with the March of Dimes, with Refinery 29, with Patricia Chevrolet, which sponsored this podcast episode, Mama Glow. We've had a great partnerships this year, and I'm excited about all of the partnerships that are coming up next year, as well as I've been working behind the scenes over the last 3 months, securing some additional partnerships that can be long term and ongoing for the podcast. So podcasting is definitely lucrative, but lucrative in a sense that it can reach the masses, but also at the end of the day, this podcast and this is a business, and I want to make sure that it is growing and that it's flourishing, and that I'm providing quality content to you all week after week after week. Podcast sponsorship was huge on my list this year, and I'm so happy that I was able to get the sponsorship that is needed. And then lastly, another major win was the actual rebrand of Sisters-in-Laws. I don't know if you've all checked out the rebrand of the website, but we changed the logo. It's not no little Canva logo like I had. The logo actually represents us, as Sisters-in-Laws, where, we are women who are rooted and grounded in God's word, which represents the cross there, but we also have been broken. And that's why the sisters and the in-laws on the new logo is broken, because we have been broken, but we are together as a sisterhood. We are stronger together, and we know that by the power of our words, by the power of our testimonies, by sharing these stories week after week after week, we know that we are stronger together as sisters. And many of you who we've dialogue personally, we know that if it wasn't for the podcast, or if it wasn't for us coming together, I have made some stronger friendships with people from this community than I have with people that I've known for years, mainly because we share this vulnerability, we share this commonality, we know the pain that not many people understand and go through or are able to articulate. So I'm excited and blessed and honored that I was able to get Shirley Ainsley to redesign the Sisters-in-Laws logo and our website, so that we have a home that we can go to for all things Sisters-in-Laws related. I am going to be updating the website in a couple of weeks as we talk about launching some additional things on the website. Those of you who want to contribute to the website, because we're going to have a blog place for it as well, where we're going to have it's going to be the online place for Black infant mortality and maternal health. I want to make sure that you all have a place to go for resources and tools, and that you know that there are so many other people that are out there outside of the world of Instagram, because at the end of the day, we don't own Instagram. Instagram can shut down tomorrow, and I want to make sure that you all have a place to go in your time of need, in your time of struggle, or if you're just looking for a community in your local hometown. So definitely visit us at sistersinlaws.com, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about what we're doing there. So I'm excited about the website. The website is is amazing. If you go check it out, I did post it earlier in the group, in our Facebook group, just to make sure people could see it and give me feedback before I actually officially launched it. And then now it's launched, it's official, it's beautiful, it's everything that I wanted it to be plus more. So thank you again to Shirley for partnering with me and blessing our website. And Shirley did all this while she was in her 8th and 9th month pregnant, and she had a baby, and she was still working on our website. So y'all, no excuses. There's no excuses. We all can make sure that we push through to get it done. So some wins for me personally was just speaking across the country. I mean, I really have, literally. I mean, I had over 10 speaking engagements. 7 or 10 out of them were paid. It was my goal this year to really increase and get an actual speaker role so that I can really brand myself as a speaker, and I really did that this year. I had people record me, so I have a speaker role. I'm redoing my personal website, ericamcafee.com, to be a speaker's website so that people can hire me for speaking opportunities. I had opportunity to speak from Austin to LA, and I am so blessed and honored to speak at all of those different conferences that I spoke at, many of them that I am going to speak at again next year in 2020. Excited about just all the opportunities that God has opened doors for. Really, with this podcast, has really opened those opportunities for me. I flew to Mexico by myself. It's my first solo vacation. Granted, it was a retreat with 100 other women, but still, it was my first time actually going on vacation by myself to another country, and I'm going to do it again in 2020. Next 2020, I'm going to Ghana. I'm going to Ghana in April of 2020, so I'm excited about that opportunity as well. Hey sisters, the new sistersinlaws.com website is now live. Yes, we now have a space for us, by us, for all things Black infant and maternal health. Join us over there at sistersinlaws.com and download our 100 plus Black owned ran businesses and organizations that are related to pregnancy and infant loss and infertility. If you want to write or contribute to the sistersinlaws.com website, please email us at hi@sistersinlaws.com. Check out our new website and let us know how you like it in our Facebook community at sistersinlaws.com. Another win for me personally was investing in myself. I don't think I have ever had the opportunity to really spend lots of money on me. So this past year, I spent close to $12,000. Yes, $12,000 that probably could have went to something else. But if you don't bet on yourself, who are you betting on? So I bet on myself and on my own personal development, whether it was courses, it was a retreat, it was a weekend mastermind. I wanted to make sure that I was setting myself up so that I could be the best Erica that she can be, so that now in 2020 I can launch and just go and blossom and flourish. I bet on myself in 2019, and I'm so glad that I took the time out, I took the money out, and I did that. Some of the 2020 goals for me personally and professionally would be to relaunch. And a loss that I had, a loss that I didn't do well on, was really launching the Sisters-in-Laws online community. This is through Mighty Networks, and through this community, I want to make sure that we have another safe space, because what I realize is that Facebook is great. Having a Facebook group is excellent, but for those individuals who really want to go deeper into topics that are of interest to them, that we need to have another space for that. And also that a lot of people take time away from social media, and I want to make sure that we have another place for people to go. This is a paid community that I'll be launching this month. It is a book club. We will have monthly workshops, which I'll make sure I put out the list of what the workshops are going to be for every month for the rest of the year. We're going to have courses. It's going to be live. lives. We're going to just basically take all of our healing to the next level, whether it's a spiritual perspective or really what we need to do physically within our own selves and emotionally, so that we can heal and continue to grow our families and chase those dreams that we have in our lives. I want to launch our Hold On Pain Ends online and print magazine, something that I was supposed to also launch in the fall winter of 2019. I did not do that. I want to make sure that I launch it excellently in the spring of 2020, and it is going to be launched in Barnes and Nobles as well as on Amazon and online, and you'll be able to have the print version. So I'm excited about partnering with a few companies I've already reached out to and worked behind the scenes that are going to sponsor the magazine, and I'm always looking for magazine sponsorship and writers, so you can definitely email me at hello@ericaandmcafee.com for more information. I'm going to open back up my doula services calendar. I had closed it down for the last 6 months. I'm going to open it back up from April to December of 2020. I want to do a TEDx talk in 2020. So I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. God is going to bless me to do a TEDx talk in 2020. And in 2020, preferably July 2020, I am going to launch my book. This book is going to get out in the atmosphere. Done is better than perfect. I've been sitting on this for the last year, and God has blessed me with a story to tell in more detail that I have not shared on the podcast. And I want to be able to share that story. And I know that someone out there is going to be blessed about really where I am in my emotional and mental health journey post having children, post having a hysterectomy, and really what that looks like. So I'm excited about launching this book. We have a conference coming up, Pregnancy and Infant Loss and Infertility Conference, paleconference.com. It's April 4th, 2020. It's in Baltimore, Maryland. I need you all to go register for this. If you have not registered, go to paleconference.com, PAIL conference.com. Registration is $199. That is in April, and I'm excited about that. I hope that you all are able to attend the conference. We want to make sure that we sell out the place. A portion of the proceeds of the conference is going to the conference planners, which are all nonprofits. So you would be able to write off your ticket because it's going to all nonprofit organizations. And then the last two things I'm going to do in 2020 are the Sisters in Loss Retreat, which is going to be held in Tucson, Arizona, September 16th through 2020. I'm excited about this retreat. It is a healing retreat. It's about restoration, about revival. I'm excited about the speakers I've already reached out to participate into this retreat. So I know that if you have not planned a vacation next year for yourself, that this retreat would be the excellent opportunity to get with like-minded sisters in loss. It's only going to be about 30 of us there, and for us to mix, mingle, break bread, and do something and take risks that we have not done before, and to really bet on ourselves. So that's the one thing I want to talk about my word in a year. But we really got to learn how to bet on ourselves and have the emotional intelligence on when to stop and pause and really have that moment of self-care. And then lastly, in 2020, my goal is to have another Healing and Prayer Summit in October 2020 around Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. It's my big summit. I've been doing it these last 2 years. This will be my third year doing it, and I want to make sure that this summit is done in excellence. So I am considering doing this summit live, like actually in person, which is a big undertaking. I do love the video format that I have been doing these last couple of years, but not everybody's video audio setup is the same, and I want to make sure that we do things with a level of excellence. So if you all are interested in thinking about doing a Healing and Prayer Summit live, I have a couple different cities that I want to do it in. I'm thinking about Atlanta because a lot of you all are in the ATL, and then of course the DMV, just because the DMV is close to me, and then maybe New York, because New York is another big market for the Sisters in Loss community. Let's take a break and hear a word from today's sponsor, Patricia Shrivelin, author of The Morning's Light, Life After Child Loss. Patricia tells in this quick interview the impact of losing a baby from the sibling perspective. Here is Patricia Shrivelin.
Thank you for agreeing to do a quick interview with me.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So, as you know, my podcast is focused on Black women with pregnancy and infant loss and infertility, and sharing our stories to help shed light, break the silence, and of course, using our stories and our anecdotal, really evidence of what's happening to help reduce the Black infant and maternal mortality rates that are happening in our country, by actually using the stories, using, all of the different testimonies really people have about how they have gone through, their grief, and then how they've healed, but then also if they've had their rainbow babies in subsequent pregnancies. So I would like for you to share a little bit about, well, how we found each other. I guess that's the first part. So I would like for you to share how, we found each other, really.
Yeah.
My part, and you can share your part. So when I want to say it's been 3 or 4 years, when I got back into therapy, my therapist knew that I was dealing with some grief on the other side, grief from having my son being born with a disability, and then the grief of not being able to have more children. So she recommended your book as a read for me, and for me to journal my thoughts on it, because I hadn't really thought about it from a different perspective. And your book really just opened my eyes up to that. And I think I blogged about it. And I think that's kind of how we connected.
Yes. Actually, well, it's a little bit strange because I was actually Googling my name to go find something. And, all of a sudden I saw your blog post. And I thought, oh, who is this? And I read it. And it just made my heart happy that you felt that you had gained something from the book, because that book was kind of I don't know if you'd call it a catharsis book, but it was really about sharing the story of my mom, being a grieving mom back in the 50s and growing up in a family that was a grieving family, but they didn't talk about it or really admit it. And so I was happy to read your blog that it actually, had made a difference in thinking about grief and your child, and the living ones that are here. So that is where, yes, I reached out to you, and I've just recently written another book, which is a bit different. It's kind of the next step. Having worked with many moms and my own mom in my coaching practice, as far as how does one move forward and find a life after the loss of a child.
Yes, and you gave me an opportunity to read it, and I love it. I love all the tips that you share, and I know that it will be impactful for our community. So I definitely want to do a giveaway to the listeners who are listening so that they can get this book. So join my mailing list, and then I will make sure that you get in the actual running to get to get a copy of her book once it gets published. But something that I loved about your first book, and I guess the thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, is just how did you help your mom go through that process? Because a lot of people don't realize the long-term effects grief have on people, especially when they hold it in their heart. And culturally, you know, and this is just not an African-American thing. This is just an American thing. Like culturally, we keep a lot of things to our chest and close to our hearts, and we really don't share a lot of things. So, you know, how did you get your mom to open up about just her grief and her experience? You talk about it a lot in the book, but I wanted, at least for my listeners, to understand exactly just your perspective as being, you know, the child of a grieving parent.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my mother was in her 80s when we went through this process of helping her to open up to her grief. My brother was born in 1952 and he died at a little over 4 months old. We believe it was from having his baby shots at the time, because he went in, had his baby shots that day. It just went downhill. He got very, very ill, and by the middle of the night, he had died. And back in the 50s, no one talked about it. It's just like, okay, you just go on. She had 2 other children. People just went on in their lives, and it was just to be strong and don't talk about it, don't think about it. You just need to soldier on. So I accidentally found out that I had a brother because I was a very curious little girl, and I was digging through some photo albums, and there was a little manila envelope with a couple of pictures in it, and it was of this child that didn't look really healthy. And I later found out when I approached my mother that they were pictures of him after he was deceased. They were the only 2 pictures they had. And we never really talked about it my whole life, but I had this connection with this brother that I had never met. I always felt that there was a deep connection between the 2 of us. So anyway, he was going to turn 60, and my mother finally opened up right around where would have been his 60th birthday. And she was in her late 80s. And of course, I'm in my late 50s at that time. And it opened up an opportunity for us to bring back those photos out again and to look at them with love and compassion. And I asked my mom to tell her story to me. And her sharing her story opened up all the anger that had been held in her heart, all the guilt, all the fear, and of course, the deep sadness. And it was a time of just peeling away the layers. I just asked a lot of questions and helped her to see that there was nothing that she could have done to prevent what happened with my brother. And so that was a key thing for her to release the guilt. She had a lot of guilt, like, could she have done something differently? So that, it was really about opening up her story and allowing her to share it, where all those years before, that was just not something that was necessarily allowed in that day and time.
The part of the book that I love the most, so you all have to pick up Pat's first book, and then of course pick up her second book, because her second book goes into a lot more detail on what you can do, like the actual resources and tools and things that we can actually, actionable steps that we can take to go through that grieving process. So what's next for you, Pat? You got 2 books out. I hope there's another one in you. I'm sure there is.
Yes, there most likely is. Right now, it is just being of service to grieving moms. You know, that really is where my heart is. And I don't want any moms to have to wait 60 years to find some healing. And so that really is my passion, is to be available and help support moms and go out and talk more about this. And the next book will probably be something totally different. And it'll be about living in a multi-generational home, because we have 4 generations living under one roof. So that'll be the next one.
Absolutely, and I think that's so what is happening across America, especially with a lot of the high, you know, interest rates, home prices going up, and folks with college educations and student loan debt, like myself, coming back home just to get some reprieve. So, I know that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. We're kind of, it's like back, many years ago, like in my mother's growing up time and on farms and that type of thing, everybody lived together. And that was just a natural thing. And then we all got independent, and people went off, and children went and bought their homes and had families, and it seems like we're coming back around now to having that multi-generational support for one another. And I just think that is so important. And I think about that even with bereaved parents and bereaved, especially the mamas, to have, and I talk about that in my newest book, is to have the support system in place to really help in this healing process, and to have those key people. And I think multi-generational, that helps, to have someone that can hold your hand and just sit quietly with you when you need it. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Absolutely. So where can my listeners connect with you after this episode?
So I have a website. It's www.patshevland. So it's SHEV as in Victor, ELAN like in Nancy D.com. And so it's my name.com.
Awesome. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to do a giveaway to my folks who are on my mailing list and get my newsletter every week of Pat's book, her first book, which blessed me so much, as well as her second book. So you have two opportunities to win her book on me. And if you win it and you want to give it away, that is fine as well. So definitely join my mailing list. But thank you so much, Pat, for sharing on the podcast and just being a blessing to this community.
You bet, Erica. I just really appreciate this, and much love to you and all the mamas out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My main goal of 2020 is to continue to be resilient. So my word of 2020 is resilience. Resilience, by definition, means knowing how to cope. Resilience, by definition, means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness, the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape, or elasticity. Resilience means knowing how to cope in spite of setbacks or barriers or limited resources. Resilience is a measure of how much you want something and how you are willing and able to overcome obstacles to get in. It has to do with your emotional strength. So that's why today's title of the podcast is Resilience to Endure, because I'm not sure what you have in store for 2020, with goals, with dreams, with things that you have on your vision board, or if you just want to continue to improve yourself, continue to grow your family, whatever that means, that we all have to have some sort of resilience. We know that sometimes life throws us curveballs, as we have all been through loss and infertility challenges, where we have gotten news that we did not desire, where we have been told that our baby didn't have a heartbeat, where we've had to bury our child, where we've had to experience loss in so many ways, whether it's losing a body part like a fallopian tube or a uterus, or just being told we are not sure why you aren't unable to have a child, and just continue to get the runaround until you finally get an answer and understand exactly what is going on with your body and how to move forward on your journey to motherhood and parenthood. So when I think of resilience, I really think of this community. I think of you, sister-in-laws. Yes, you, the woman that's on the other side of this podcast that's listening. I am in awe of everything that you have been through in 2019. And I know that with resilience, that God is going to continue to bless you to endure all the obstacles and challenges that this life is going to face in 2020, so that you can truly live your purpose, whether that is to become a mother, to start a business, to write that book, to grow your nonprofit organization or start one. I know that God's hands is all over you all that are a part of the Sisters in Loss community, and I could not be more proud that you are a part of my journey and that you have opened your hearts and minds to me to be a part of yours. I love you all, like you all, my sisters, and I am so blessed that we get to face this resilience together. After losing babies, many times we don't even know our own strength, but we keep on going, placing our feet on the floor and pressing on time after time when it gets tough. We go, from 2 steps forward to 3 steps back. We move from trauma to trauma and not realize it until it's too late. We get that positive pregnancy test that we've been praying for, only to get bad news weeks later. We make it to the end of our pregnancy, birth of our rainbow baby, and are depressed because we continue to mourn the baby that we lost. When I think of resilience, I think of you. Yes, you girl. Yes, you, my sisters in loss. Resilience is you. Resilience is me. And I am walking into 2020 resilient as ever. How about you? How do you plan to be resilient in 2020? Share with me on Instagram or in the Sisters in Loss Facebook community at sistersinloss.com. I know you love listening to this podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and join our community at sistersinloss.com. Until next time, Happy New Year. Welcome into 2020. I know that you all have the resilience to endure. Until next time, this is Erica. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. For show notes and more information on today's guest, go to sistersinloss.com. If you have not joined our online community, go to sistersinloss.com, as well as sign up for our newsletter. We want you to be a part of the community so you can know all of the events that we have planned on as Sisters in Loss. Go to sistersinloss.com, sign up for our newsletter, join our online community, and stay connected with us. Talk to you soon.